If you are sitting on $10,000 or $100,000 in a safe index fund right now, feeling like you've done everything right, you are actually in the most dangerous position of your life. You followed the legends. You read Nick Maggioli's data on just keep buying. You listened to the conservative wisdom of the Bob Brinkers of the world. And for 30 years, they were right. But we aren't in that world anymore. We are in 2026. The math has changed, the costs monster has evolved, and static saving is no longer a strategy. It's a slow-motion heist of your future. Today, we decode the 7 signs that your financial roadmap belongs in a museum, not your portfolio. Sign 1. The 7% real return fallacy. You still believe 7% is a winning number. In the era of our gurus, 7% was the gold standard because inflation sat at a comfortable 2 or 3%. Your real return was 4%. You were actually getting wealthier. But look at the 2026 horizon. When the costs monster, the 12% inflation we are seeing in housing, energy, and essential services, bites into that 7% return, you aren't growing. You're losing 5% of your life's work every single year. Staying in a safe S&P 500 index fund today is like running up a down escalator. You're moving, but the floor is dropping faster than your legs can carry you. Sign 2. You value liquidity over cash flow. You think a large savings balance equals security. This is the static saving trap. Most traditional advice tells you to keep a massive cash drag or liquid assets so you can sleep at night. In 2026, liquidity is a liability. Money that sits still is money that dies. The architect's strategy isn't about having money, it's about income velocity. If your capital isn't moving into hard assets or private debt, instruments that pay you 15% or more in monthly yields, you're holding a melting ice cube. We don't want a balance, we want a current that flows faster than the inflation rate. The wait for the dip delusion. You are waiting for a market correction to get in. Our predecessors taught us to time the entry or wait for value. But in a high inflation environment, assets don't just dip back to 2019 levels. The floor has been permanently raised. While you wait for the S&P to drop 10%, the cost of the assets you actually want, real estate, private credit, raw commodities, is climbing by 15%. You aren't being patient. You are being priced out of the exit. The builder doesn't wait for the market to move. The builder moves the capital into the income velocity lane immediately. Sign 4. Ignoring the taxation of phantom gains. You haven't accounted for the phantom tax. This is the cruelest joke of the 2026 economy. Let's say your portfolio goes up 7%. On paper, you made money. The government sees that gain and taxes you on it. But if inflation was 12%, you actually lost value. Now you're paying taxes on a loss. This is why the old buy and hold advice for taxable accounts is broken. To survive the architect's blueprint, we must pivot to tax-efficient private structures or assets that offer depreciation and offset. If you're still filing a standard 1040 on simple index gains, you're donating your wealth to a system that is actively devaluing your currency. Sign 5. The diversification trap. You are diversified into a dozen different versions of the same failure. Traditional wisdom, the kind you'll hear on every major finance podcast, tells you to spread your $10,000 or $100,000 across 10 different sectors to reduce risk. In 2026, this isn't diversification, it's dilution. If you own 10 different index funds and they are all denominated in a currency losing 12% of its value, you aren't protected. You're just sinking on 10 different decks of the same ship. The architect doesn't diversify for the sake of a pie chart. We concentrate into assets that have a direct link to inflation. If the price of milk, fuel, and housing goes up, your asset must go up automatically. If your portfolio doesn't have a cost of living engine built into it, your diversification is just a slow-motion exit strategy. Sign 6. You are still calculating in nominal dollars. You are celebrating nominal gains while ignoring real losses. We've been conditioned by decades of low inflation data to look at the bottom line of our brokerage statement and smile if the number is bigger than last month. But the builder knows better. $1 million in 2026 buys what $600,000 bought just a few years ago. If your goal is to have $1 million, you've already lost. Your goal must be productive capacity. You don't need a pile of cash. You need the ability to purchase a specific standard of living regardless of what the costs monster does to the currency. If you aren't calculating your net worth in purchasing power units, you are flying a plane with a broken altimeter. You think you're climbing, but the ground is coming up to meet you. Sign 7. Reliance on the institutional safety net. You still believe the system is incentivized to protect your savings. This is the hardest pill to swallow for followers of the old guard. Our gurus grew up in an era where the interests of the government, the banks, and the saver were, for a short time, aligned. In 2026, the script has flipped. The only way for the costs monster to be fed is through financial repression. The system needs your savings to grow slower than inflation, so the massive national debts can be devalued. They aren't trying to help you win. They are trying to help the currency survive at your expense. If your primary strategy relies on a traditional bank account or a standard 401k, you are a willing participant in your own wealth erosion. The architect doesn't seek safety within the system. We build sovereignty outside of it. So the 7% advice has failed? The safe path is a dead end? What is the builder's response? We stop playing the accumulation game and start playing the velocity game. Instead of waiting 30 years for the S&P 500 to maybe, hopefully, give us a return, we move our capital into private debt. We become the bank. We lend to the businesses and real estate projects that are forced to raise their prices to match inflation. When their costs go up, our interest rates go up. We capture the velocity of money as it moves through the economy. While the 7% saver is waiting for a harvest that may never come, the builder is collecting rent, interest, and yields in real time. The 2026 costs monster is here. You can stay in the old world, clutching your outdated maps and wondering why you feel poorer every time you leave the grocery store. Or you can start building. The blueprint is ready. The logic is undeniable. It's time to move from static saving to income velocity. If you're ready to stop being a saver and start being a builder, stay tuned for the next phase. The architect is just getting started.